Well, Donald Trump perhaps distracting a bit from his other problems. The Manhattan District Attorney leading the prosecution of Donald Trump is now suing a top House Republican. Alvin Bragg filed the lawsuit against Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan yesterday in response to what Bragg calls a brazen and unconstitutional attack by members of Congress on an ongoing criminal prosecution. Bragg has come under increased scrutiny, to put it mildly, by the Ohio Republicans since it became likely the former president would be charged in New York City. In addition to calling on the DA himself to testify before Congress, Jordan issued a subpoena last week ordering a former prosecutor in the case to appear before the Judiciary Committee. In the new lawsuit, the DA asked the court to block that subpoena, arguing it could cause irreparable harm to the case if certain secret material is disclosed. Bragg's attorneys also argue that subpoena is unconstitutional because Congress has no power to conduct oversight of a state prosecution. A federal judge has scheduled a hearing on the lawsuit for next week. Joining us now, senior legal affairs contributor for Politico, Josh Gerstein. Josh, good morning. So talk a little bit more, if you would, about what prompted this lawsuit from Alvin Bragg and what the specific complaint is and where it goes from here.
Well, Willie, the lawsuit is aimed at this subpoena to Mark Pomerantz, who is actually not a current prosecutor for Alvin Bragg, but had a falling out with Alvin Bragg about a year ago when Alvin Bragg, who had recently come into office, signaled that he wasn't going to bring a broad tax and insurance fraud kind of case against Trump in criminal court. That led Pomerantz and one of his aides to resign. But since then, there's been an effort by Jordan and other House Republicans to try to use Pomerantz as kind of a vehicle to get inside Bragg's office and Bragg's thinking, not only on that criminal case that wasn't brought, but the one that was just brought in the last couple of weeks, dealing with, narrower issues relating to Trump and those payments to Stormy Daniels and to another woman. So Republicans hope that Mark Pomerantz is their way into this investigation, and Bragg decided to sort of take a preemptive move, go into federal court, interestingly, in New York, not down here in Washington, D.C., and see if he can halt this subpoena. But I do think it's going to be an uphill battle for Bragg.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, it looks like Republicans are going to come back and say, look, hold on a second, Pomerantz has already written the book. This is all out there in public. And so how can you stop him from testifying when people have already read what he has to say?
Right. I mean, that's the trickiest part of this, Caddy. Given that Pomerantz wrote the book, it's hard for him to sort of take the position that I can't say one word to you now. I need to zip my lip because of this current prosecution that's going on. The other thing going on in this suit is kind of turning the tables. Remember, back when Trump was in office, you had all these Democratic-led investigations out of Congress trying to get various documents like his tax returns. And then Trump would often say, well, those aren't legitimate investigations. This is something Congress is doing that's purely political. And now we have Bragg trying to, basically adopt those arguments and say Congress has no legitimate business looking into an investigation being conducted by a Manhattan district attorney.
Hey, Josh, quick question for you here. So if this is an uphill battle, why bring the suit at all? And then secondarily is, does this impact the timeline for Bragg's own investigation? Do you have to just deal with this sideshow first before we can get back to the original matter, which is looking into Trump's conduct?
Well, I mean, he's tried, Sam, to bring in outside counsel. He has outside lawyers, actually a lawyer out of Los Angeles, Ted Boutrous, who's handling this sort of affirmative litigation, this aggressive step that Bragg has made here. I don't think it will really derail the prosecution. At the moment, the ball is kind of in Trump's court. The way the judge up there in New York set a very sort of long deadline going through August and a calendar to hear motions through the end of the year. So I don't think Bragg's under a lot of pressure up there to push his investigation forward. He's sort of waiting for Trump to return this volley. So I don't see it derailing the investigation. I think the concern is that if they did get Pomerantz on the witness stand or in a deposition, that we might see a lot more of the inside baseball within Bragg's office being spilled out publicly. And I think Bragg's just not eager to see that happen. It would certainly be a distraction to the indictment and the case that he brought last week.
And Michael Steele, what a great example of Republican hypocrisy. Here you have Republicans, certainly when Republicans used to be Republicans like myself, saying whenever possible, You take all power, money, and authority to states, local governments, to the people. All power is not specifically given to the federal government. The Constitution is reserved to the states and the people, right? And here you have a Republican Party that uses, first of all, if you look at Ron DeSantis, uses his power to go after baseball teams, to go after Mickey Mouse, to go after cruise lines, to tell small businesses what they can and can't do, to go after school librarians, to go after teachers, to go after local school districts. It is the opposite. It sees local power, consolidate it in state government. Well, here you have these guys who I know probably went around when they first started campaigning saying, let's get the power out of Washington and get it down to the people. And yet here you have a man elected by the people of Manhattan, and Big Brother doesn't like it. So they're going to come from Washington, D.C. to a local DA and try to interfere in his investigation. It's just, again, more Republican hypocrisy.
Well, it goes to the rot inside the party writ large. And Sam put his finger on that point in talking about how this infection of Trumpism, MAGAism, has coursed through the veins of the party at all levels. So the idea of federalism, independent state action, independent power of the states to govern their affairs on behalf of the people in those states only applies if it doesn't touch on a particular interest of ours. And that particular interest of ours is none other than who? Donald Trump. Because, you know, you would not have this level of interference but for Donald Trump. If it's anyone else, they're going to be hard pressed to make the case for why they're doing and saying the things they're doing with respect to this prosecution. So again, it's a further example that all levels, all factions of our society are not immune to this infection. It is our judicial system. It is our political system, obviously, our economic system, certainly our international relationships. Everything has been touched by this. And the idea is culminated in that interview last night with Donald Trump praising individuals who in their own regimes, in their own countries, have infected their systems in the same manner, to the point where they have absolute and total control. There is no questioning of that authority. You know, Jim Jordan perceives himself to be something he's not. He is a very small man in an even smaller pool relative to Donald Trump. But he's going to use the authority that he has with that gavel in his hand to do his bidding, to do what's necessary to make sure that he stays in good favor with someone like Donald Trump. That's the rot.